let's talk about the future of work, or more specifically, the possibility of a humane future of work. So, who of you thinks that work in the future will be more humane than today? So that's like a third maybe. And who thinks that work in the future will be less humane than today? That's a third as well. So let's have a look how experts and pioneers around the globe approach this question.
This robot is not going to be a threat to me. I can do a lot more things than the robot can do, but certain things, certain boring things, that a robot can do much, much better, faster and cheaper.
In Wahrheit sind Technologien und Computer nichts anderes als eine neue Form von Werkzeug.
If you need to take care of individual needs and create strong societies or communities, you need human interaction, and that you can't automate that.
The key message to policymakers is that there is nothing inevitable about the way technology will evolve.
Also wie können wir Digitalisierung wirklich so nutzen, dass wir da wirklich eine humanere Welt und eine humanere Arbeitswelt und eine bessere Gesellschaft bekommen? Das können wir nur, glaube ich, in einem breiten Bündnis machen. Ich glaube aber, wir müssen jetzt wirklich Stellschrauben drehen.
All we talk about is sort of like anything that creates jobs is good, but most of the jobs are like really crappy jobs that, frankly, we shouldn't have to work anymore.
I mean, I imagine the future of work being lifelong learning.
If we can teach skills on how to keep on learning, we will be prepared for the future.
And as educators, if we can chase that and feed that desire to learn, we habituate them to lifelong learning. And I think that's the most valuable person in any workplace, the lifelong learner. That trumps everything.
I know some school where they say to the young people, you need to do meditation. You need to be creative, you need to be happy. So this is not the way. The way is just to be sure you are your own leader.
When I get asked to talk about new work, most people expect me to talk about something that's work but a little sexier. And I say, you know, your way of talking about new work is just the same system as the job system, but with a miniskirt. And that is not new work. New work is something radically different from that. New work is an effort to help people discover what they really, really want to do and to make it possible for them to do that.
So here's my take. Let's start where we stand today. The public debate about the future of work is still dominated by the idea of robots and algorithms taking our jobs and eventually enslaving us. Artificial intelligence has become the mantra of our time, kind of an intellectual wild card being used for everything that is shiny and digital. And don't get me wrong, the current state of AI is fascinating. Just have a look at this image recognition, the classification, the segmentation. All that is fascinating and would have been considered impossible 15 years ago. The mere combination of massive data and cloud computing will replace repetitive human data processing, such as speech recognition or replying to emails, trading stocks, or detecting fraud. But you know, when I talk to actual AI engineers, one of the things they are most fascinated about is children. And why is that? Because learning in children is so efficient, because intelligence in children is so versatile. And I personally sometimes miss this fascination for the human mind at these kind of gatherings where we marvel about artificial intelligence. For all we know, the human brain is not just a computer made of meat. So, what can we expect to happen in the next 2 decades? I think on a very general level, we will see a structural transformation. In 1800, more than half of the population in Western countries worked as farmers. Today, that's less than 2%. And the same will happen to some of the dominant industries and professions of the 20th century. But this transformation will not be evenly distributed. We're going to see superstar companies, leaders in productivity and innovation that dominate markets. We will see superstar employees who have crucial skills that complement cutting-edge technology so that these guys can generate runaway salaries. And we're going to see superstar cities where these companies and employees meet, kind of playing grounds that become unaffordable to everyone else. And importantly, the race is not going to be between man and machine, but rather between man supercharged by machine and man without this kind of augmentation. Just ask your friends in finance, journalism, or research how those colleagues fare that have some competences in data science. Or think about two teams where the one team is using AI as a devil's advocate while the other team is lost in groupthink. This augmentation of human capabilities, even in highly skilled professions such as doctors, lawyers, managers, policymakers, could lead to new forms of alienation. How will those people in highly recognized, highly regarded professions react when their very expertise is being challenged by algorithmic decision-making? Will they rather embrace this kind of symbiosis of man and machine intelligence, or will they rather reject it? As machine intelligence enters the workplace, I believe individuality will become the crucial asset humans bring to market. When you think about the age of mass production, it was all about standardizing repetitive human work. In the future, companies will look for machines for repetition and man for individuality. It's the original contribution that counts. At the same time, we will see a massive growth in non-standard services provided to other human people. That is obviously in health, in the care sector, but also in leisure, in travel, in education, where these kind of services become large-scale industries, and empathy and subjectivity are the crucial skills to provide these services. And I think this kind of rising demand for individuality, for empathy, for subjectivity will raise quite important questions in our society. Firstly, is our educational system actually adept to develop these kind of characteristics? And secondly, are people actually willing to provide these kind of services, to engage in these kind of jobs? And finally, the emergence of intelligent tools will change how management works. In former times, to put it very simply, management basically worked by coercion, sometimes more, sometimes less sophisticated. In the future, when companies predominantly need individuals for their unique, for their subjective contribution and not repetitive labor, managers will have to provide a convincing purpose to align the goals of the individuals and the organization. And at the same time, algorithmic systems will provide totally new tools to steer, to monitor, to nudge a workforce. So, what can we actually do to develop a more humane future of work? I think the first thing is not to do nothing. Because if we do nothing, we are heading for a division of the world of work, where the good characteristics of work and the bad characteristics are clustered. So on the one side, you have work that is well paid, highly fulfilling, highly regarded in society, well educated. And on the other side, you have work that has not been automated yet. Therefore, and secondly, we have to champion the complementarity of man and machine. It is us deciding how we translate technology into real-world working environments, just as we did with electricity, just as we did with the steam engine. And obviously, you would start with the individual. right? Workers need the skills and the time and the money to develop these skills that are complementary to technology. It's not only about IT skills, it is skills that technology makes important. And then you have to look at the company level, and it's about social partnership where technology is implemented in a way that it augments people, that it fosters the skills development. But you also have to go beyond the company and look at the societal, the national level. It is about us as a society to invest and to develop technologies that produce new high-quality human tasks. And thirdly, I think we need to change our paradigm from a work society where work is something that is happening in a fixed period of time in your life to an activity society where all different kinds of activities, be it paid employment, volunteer work, care work, lifelong learning, are part of the picture, where each individual, each citizen can determine what importance to give to each activity in a specific phase of life. And finally, and it may sound odd, we should embrace messiness, the messiness of our society, our organization, and our lives. The claim that intelligent machines will replace all human labor builds on the assumption that our world as it exists today is made machine compatible. And indeed, autonomous vehicles could be in the streets of downtown London, Paris, or Berlin if these streets were far less messy. But should they? Isn't this messiness part of the reason why these places keep on producing original ideas? Or have a look at this building. That is the MIT's Building 20, demolished 20 years ago. It was built in the wartime, very ugly, but yet it's the building where some of the most important technologies of the 20th century have been developed. For example, the microwave. Why is that? For the very fancy and smart interior design? No, it was rather messy inside. But because different research teams had to improvise around space, around resources, and kept on bumping into each other. Human ingenuity builds on messiness, and human intelligence can deal with messiness, the messiness of our world as it exists. And I believe that if we acknowledge and cherish the diverse forms of human and machine intelligence, we are heading for a future of work that is bright and humane. So we shouldn't be obsessed with AI singularity. So we should embrace this future that combines the diversity of man and machine intelligence. And that is the future I personally am looking forward ahead. Thank you very much.